So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for being here this afternoon with us. This is the Sustainable Energy Skills in the Construction Sector Joint Workshop number 2. And my name is Mahadessa Maktabi Fard from R2M Solution and a member of Organizing Committee at Sustainable Places 2021. This is the second workshop of this joint workshop number 2. This is the second workshop of a series. The first one was happening during Sustainable Places 2020, and this is a continuation to that. In this workshop, we are honored to have 5 more projects. And also, since the previous one during Sustainable 2020, we have started an initiative with the sister projects to have frequent meetings every couple of months in order to identify joint actions. And also, we started to have a series of workshops, energy skills workshop, which the first one was by the help of Build Up Skills conducted during spring. Without further ado, let's move to the agenda. After the workshop overview, I will give the floor to Amandine, your representation of European Commission. Thank you very much for joining us today, Amandine. She will give us a short introduction. Then each of the projects will give us a brief presentation about their project, their current status, and their targets and their future plans. First is Yuan representing INSTRUCT, then Marion, BUSLeague project, then Uli, Train for Sustain, Patrick, HP for All, Sonia, the nZEB Roadshow, Gerald, Pro Heritage, Yiri, CrafEdu, Jose, BIMZEED, Paul from Arise, and Lehnida from SEEtheSkills. And then at the end at 4:30, we'll have a Q&A with our audiences. Hopefully, we'll have a fruitful discussion. And the workshop will be wrapped up by presentation, a conclusion presentation by Amandine, and we close the workshop. Before giving the floor to Amandine, I may say that this workshop is structured around 4 different aspects that each project pitches in for 5 minutes, more or less, to give an introduction of the learning units or training modules, etc., about their projects, and then tell us about their targets, target groups, if it's applicable, update us on their current status, progress of their project, if they have already trained any professionals and their lessons learned, and at the end, tell us about their future plans, future trainings they may have, their locations, workshops, target groups, etc. Obviously, we have few newer projects which they just had their kickoff or they will have their kickoff. So for them, it's more about the introduction and getting to know about their targets. And I give the floor to you, Amandine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mohi, and thank you very much for having me today. It's really a pleasure to give you a brief introduction into this workshop. So my name is Amandine de Koster. I'm a project manager for an organization that's called CINEA. So we are the European Climate, Infrastructure and Environment Executive Agency. And basically what we do is support the European Commission in implementing the Green Deal through a number of funding programs. So, for example, in the field of sustainable buildings, we are running the energy and mobility cluster of Horizon 2020, Horizon Europe now, and we are also running the LIFE program, which has now a dedicated pillar for clean energy transition. For this introduction, I would like to say a few words about an initiative we've been funding now for about 10 years, and that's Build Up Skills, which I think will be familiar for a number of you, but I think it's still useful to recall a bit this general framework, because it's actually the home of most of the projects that will be presented today. So we've started this initiative having in mind the need to upskill the building workforce towards the energy target that Europe had set itself for 2020. The idea was really to focus on 3 main areas. First, the skills needed for deep renovation and new nZEBs, but as well the digital skills supporting the energy transition of the building stock, and as well measures increasing the demand for skills and skilled professionals. 3 main target groups have been supported, obviously building professionals and building companies, but also public authorities, whether at local, regional, or national level, and also building owners and tenants. So overall, Build Up Skills received around 49 million euro of European funding since the beginning, and no less than 77 projects have been funded, which is quite a big portfolio, I would say. So if we can move on to the next slide. Yes, just to show what has been the journey for the last 10 years and about. So initially we started by funding really national projects, which were having as main objective to map the skills gaps and also to define strategies to address those gaps. And so basically these projects published roadmaps of actions. And later on, we've been funding still national projects, which were turning these roadmaps into actual training and qualification schemes. And that was under the Intelligent Energy Europe program. With Horizon 2020, we slightly expanded the scope, also to fund multi-country projects and also addressing not only blue-collar professional, which was the case initially, but also white-collar professions. Then later on, and still under Horizon 2020, we've been also funding projects looking at demand-side mechanisms, for example, skills-based procurement or mutual recognition of skills and qualifications or financial incentives. And now, 10 years later, we are starting with the new program, LIFE, and we will be looking at updating the strategies that were developed initially. If you can just move on to the next slide. Yes, a few weeks ago, we released a new publication, which I invite you to consult. It's published through Cordis, and it shows results of recently finalized projects. And now I think I'll stop here because I'm sure we are all eager to listen to the actual results from the projects that are taking part in today's workshop. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amandine, for your very nice presentation. Now I give the floor to Yuan from INSTRUCT project. Hello, Yuan.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for inviting me to present the INSTRUCT project. My name is Yuan Petri. I'm a professor at Cardiff University School of Engineering, and we are developing with our European partners an agenda around an operational framework to increase the skills building professionals and blue-collar workers in the construction industry. As a quick introduction of the INSTRUCT project, we focus on a number of pillars ranging from knowledge dissemination, where we actually want to report the state of awarenesses and access to information and dissemination in relation to energy efficiency and construction sustainability as a key focus of the INSTRUCT project. We also take into consideration demand for energy efficiency skills and try to demonstrate and bring evidences around what is the level of demand for skills workforce in the energy efficiency domain. Based on such assumptions, we look to deliver training around energy efficiency and try to understand what is the state of training programs for energy efficiency available in the industries, benchmarking objectives are in relation to scope, quality, content, and costs. Of course, as a wider scope, we want to promote shared values with identifying those collaborations and insights that need to be promoted between and with the stakeholders around energy sustainability. Yes, if we go to the next slide. In relation to targets that the INSTRUCT project takes into consideration, a general target is to, of course, have this awareness and clear understanding of stakeholders and their involvement in the construction value chain, and how they engage with different environmental changes, current and future sustainability scenarios, and of course engaging with this general agenda to digitalize construction and also adopt more sustainable practices. So as a first target, we look to promote this sense and a level of awareness around stakeholders, and explaining the benefits of energy skills and how such energy skills can be developed. Second target is to increase the number of skilled building professionals and construction workers across the value chain. And with a series of workshops that we organized in various, including our sister projects, there was evidence that we need to pave the way to legislative changes by supporting public authorities and industrial stakeholders to develop such frameworks. This would facilitate us as a community and of course, including the projects that have a similar agenda to respond to the increased demand of energy skills across the life cycle, supply chain, and to contribute to improving energy efficiency in European buildings while reducing CO2 emission targets. If we go to the next slide, I will report on the current status of the INSTRUCT project. We've completed activities in Work Package 1, Work Package 2, currently in Work Package 3, where we adopted a science-informed methodology by focusing on collecting evidences from literature review, for best practices, of course, best practice use cases, standards, to understand what are the requirements, what are the gaps that we need to address in order to develop this initiative to train the next generation of stakeholders and engineers. In particular, we at Cardiff University we've completed this period of requirements capture by conducting around 32 questionnaires responses, 27 interviews. We've managed to collect around 70 best practice use cases that were complemented with a database of 50 million data sets aggregated from social media. And what you see here presented in the table, one of the questionnaire sections looking to capture what recommendations are needed and also barriers that need to be addressed in order to develop the training programs in different organizations. And you can see a wide range of responses that have been reported. In future, I guess, the next task in Work Package 3, Work Package 4 would actually develop this portfolio of tools and instruments to develop this. So I would maybe summarize this very quickly, saying that the first phase of the project has looked into requirements elicitations, and we managed to finalize this stage, including a framework specification for instruments to promote energy efficiency education and training. This included, of course, the definition of competencies and learning outcomes, including design of instruments that can support such energy efficiency training. We also looked into a more scientific approach to examine this correlation between skills, learning outcomes, and roles. The next stage would be to develop such instruments and applying the instruments in the pilot demonstrations. I can say that we're focusing to also adopt some technology solutions, looking into blockchain, for instance, but also to leverage on what has been developed by ourselves in previous initiatives in terms of training resources, training web platforms to demonstrate this energy skill certification, but in also to develop a methodology to engage producers and retailers with energy skills. So as a longer term objective, we're looking to widen the network of stakeholders and to engage with such stakeholders across the European Union, but also to disseminate our findings and strategies, including instruments that we develop in relation to energy efficiency education. This includes exploitation plans and roadmaps to be discussed with various organizations and achieve a high level of engagement of so key stakeholders that can enable us to stimulate, but also to incentivize engagement with demand for energy skills and the subsequent training programs. This is current state of the art. Some descriptions of the activities that we have in the INSTRUCT project. If you need more information, feel free to access the project website, but also we have a energyeducation.com platform where we host all the resources. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jan. Next presentation is from BUSLeague Marion. I don't know if Marion could connect. Let me take a look. Do we have Marion here? Okay, not yet. On the back end, my colleagues are trying to make it work. So I propose that we move to the next presentation, but then we come back for BUSLeague presentation once it is solved. Next is Train for Sustain. Uli, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks, Mohi. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for me to present you now the Train for Sustain project. My name is Uli Jacob. I'm the managing director of the company GER. We are one of the partners here in this project, which is looking for training material, which is then somehow provided through a platform to enhance the sustainable energy skills across borders, especially, of course, within Europe. So our goal is really to raise the acceptance, especially for regional and national qualification schemes and skills, that you are allowed to use them, of course, in other European countries, and to make them comparable, especially if you have done that in a country like in France and want to work in Germany later on. So for that, our approach is that we establish a European skills registry, the ESR, as a web application, which is based on our Train for Sustain competence quality standard. And what that means will be presented in the next slides. Just to say, we are 7 partners from 5 European countries. And with that team, we are targeting these 3 special issues here in the project. First of all, as I said, we have set up the Train for Sustain Quality Competence Standard, CQS, which is based on the exploitation of existing qualification schemes around Europe. And we have at least mapped 300 of those qualification schemes. And so this is one of the targets. Another one is using this information to launching also a SEN workshop agreement process, a CWA process, to use this information for later standards in that field. And of course, coming from that, as I said, especially the comparison of different qualification schemes, which is necessary to stimulate the energy skills here in Europe in the construction sector. We also provide guidelines for green public procurement. And that's something which we also did in some of our work packages so far. And there we also have one pilot in the region of Catalonia in Spain, together with the municipality of Barcelona, where we just have introduced the guidelines there and checking if this is really working somehow. And the main target, as I said before, in this Train for Sustain project is the Train for Sustain platform with the ESR, where we want to achieve about 500 registered users here within the time frame of the project, and later on, of course, more. And it's not only a platform allowing you to compare different qualification schemes. No, it's more than that. So probably you also will get some more insight with the e-inventory, which means that you have the chance to also have a look on the different qualification schemes and the things which you have to do there. And it's also a web-based matchmaking hub between clients and customers, especially in that field, to find the right person, either for some procurement stuff or for your real work in a project. And there also we're looking to achieve a number of 800 experts at the end of the project. And that's why we also present today the project here, because the platform is underway, which means if you go to the next slide, Mui, we will have the chance later here in autumn this year to start with the platform, which was under development the last months. So we have no registered users so far, but we have done the mapping, as I said, from including 10 European countries and 2 non-European countries. So from 12 countries, we have now these qualification schemes already somehow collected, and which are now feed in this Train for Sustain platform, as I said, which we launched in autumn this year. Now, what are the results and future plans in that project? As said last year, we did the development on this competence quality standard, the CQS, which is also available, of course, on our website, where you can find more information. We have also presented that also last year already here in the Sustainable Places 2020 conference. There you can see that we are not just only collecting this data. It's a methodology which is based also on the Proof Track project from the past and the Levels initiative. And it's adding more additional points like the competence across domains like the environment, society, economy, and processes. So overall, we have about 140 area of expertise, which we have looked into the different qualification schemes. And the mapping, which was done now in 2021, leads to this filling of the platform, where we now have about 1,335 learning outcomes described in detail, which makes it easy to do this comparison, this matchmaking app, and then all those things which I said. So for next year, we will launch the web application end of the year, and hopefully at the end there should be also a skills passport, a European skills passport, which then allows you as a user of the platform either to find an expert or to find projects of the experts which they have done in this field on sustainable energy skills, or to allow you, if you are somehow want to look for a new employee, to get an idea if the skills which he or her brings with her to your team is the right one which you are looking for if you compare that with the national standards. So that's it from the Train for Sustain project. You are warmly welcome also to have a look on our website and to download all of our public available deliverables, and feel free to send us an email if you want to have more information about our Train for Sustain project. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Uli. Also, in the meanwhile, I tell our audiences that please, if you have any questions, drop it in the question box on the right of the platform. Next presentation is from Patrick, a representative of HP for All project. The floor is yours, Patrick. Let me take a look if we have him on board. Okay, there is this technical problem that we are facing on the back end, that the platform is not letting some of the speakers in, but then my colleagues on the back end are trying to solve this problem. I propose that we move to the next presentation, but then same as BUSLeague, we will come back to this presentation after the problem is hopefully solved. Next, if Sonia, you are connected.
Yeah, sure. I'm here.
Great.
So thank you for the introduction. So my name is Sonia Raitsky. I'm with the cluster for nZEB, and I'm here to present you the nZEB Roadshow project. Next slide, please. Mohi, sorry. Oh, thank you. So the nZEB Roadshow brings together 5 countries with 5 organizations operating a successful network of training centers in Southeastern Europe. And the plan is to hit the road to shape local markets and build communities able to get the ball rolling, so that good nearly zero energy buildings are something that can be done properly and on time. So the nZEB Roadshow is a Horizon 2020 project designed to increase the demand for skill building professionals by opening up local markets by the simplest of tools, talking to people and letting them see and touch and experiment and prove to themselves the benefits of quality buildings. Next slide, please. In the next years, we're in the middle of the project. We started 1 year ago. So in the next 2 years, we'll continue to organize and disseminate information in no less than 15 dedicated nZEB weeks in Bulgaria, Croatia, Greece, Italy, and Romania. We also will be having online and hybrid events because this way we can reach a broader audience. Our plan is to reach 50 memoranda of understanding concluded with product suppliers, and we're on our way to doing just that, and to provide at least 100 consultations for clients interested in to invest in nearly zero energy project. Please, next slide. As I said before, we already had some of the nZEB weeks in each of the countries involved, and we're planning this autumn to have one more in every country involved, despite the COVID complications, which weren't easy to manage. So our future plans are to scale up basically the whole roadshow events, and we already have in all of the countries invitations to organize this kind of events in different cities and disseminate this information. I think this is from my end, and I hope to have many interactions and questions at the end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sonia. The next presentation is from Gerald, Pro Heritage Project. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mohi. Welcome also from our side. The project is called Pro Heritage. We are related to traditional buildings and the traditional crafts we need to keep them in shape. When you go, please, to the next page. Thank you. So we, as I said, we are one of the major statements we got from several events before we started the project was traditional buildings need traditional crafts. But there is no, not really a tradition or not really a lot of organization or a lot of persons, they train that really. So we have to secure to protect these traditional crafts. So our approach is to developing a certification for energy experts for cultural heritage. Our objectives is, of course, that we will describe and and document the necessary approaches and traditional craftsman skills. They had an impact on the energy efficiency of traditional buildings. Just from the project consortium, we are 9 partners which are responsible for traditional buildings from 4 or 5 countries. So the consortium is more or less coming from the practice and research the necessary information and procedures to make sure that we have it available also for the future. Please, the next page. Thanks. So we have defined 4 targets here. The first one is that we will have a look on what traditional competences are needed and have an influence of the energy efficiency of traditional buildings, because the buildings are always mostly seen as that they are not able to deal with the modern requirements for energy efficiency. But we will show that this is not the fact. So we will have to make sure that also to make it visible that our traditional buildings are better in energy efficiency as sometimes believed. The second target is we'll have a look on what trainings providers in Europe are available, which could train or already train some kind of these skills and how we can collaborate with them in the future. The third target is that we will develop a harmonized training of these traditional competences and skills for energy efficiency. And the target number 4 is that we will generate also best practice advices on traditional competences and skills. This means that we start creating short movies where we show and the right application of traditional skills here. Please, next. The current status. Of course, we do not have any certification at the moment because we're developing still this training, and the trainings will happen next year. So we have no real certification, but we plan to have 400. But we did plan to have a look on 10 best practice examples for energy efficiency in traditional buildings. We realized 14 of them. Next, please. Future plans. Our project already started in 2019. I would say the main points are in 2019 we had the alignment and terminology as main topic. So to aligning the consortium that we have the same understanding of what is an appropriate energy efficiency measure for traditional building, and we also define the relevant and the used terminology for the project. 2020-21, it's the main thing, the training development. So that we developing the curriculum, the learning outcomes, the training materials, the visual aids, the exam questions for the training we have in mind. And 2022, we hope to do the pilot trainings where we have put in the application for pilot trainings, and we also will start the examination and validation process so that we had in the end the certifications for the craft persons and other professionals in the sector as we have planned it for the project. I think it was the last slide when I remember right.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gerald. Next presenter is Yuri from CrafEdu project. I assume that Yuri couldn't share his audio and video with us, so I propose that the speakers that have already presented to turn off your video and audio so we can have Yuri on board. And let me just get back to the platform and take a look. How does it look like? Yuri, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay,
I can see you, hear you very well. Everything is working. Yeah, great.
perfect. I'll go back to the slide. Can you see the slides?
Yes.
Perfect. The floor is yours, Yuri.
Yeah. First, thanks a lot, Mohi, for this kind invitation. My name is Yuri Karasek. I'm the project coordinator of CrafEdu project. Please, next slide. And I will introduce you our achievements so far in the project. The project CrafEdu is about setting up national qualification and training scheme in mainly in the Czech Republic and further work in Slovakia, Austria, and Bulgaria. We have 10 partners in total on board. Please, next slide. The project started in 2018, and we are in the final stage right now. Our goal was to develop on-site training courses within the so-called build-up skills second pillar, and our main goal was to develop 7 training programs in the Czech Republic, and some of them also in the three countries. Our objective was to develop further the network of trainers. We planned to introduce 30 trainers in the countries. At the end, it was more than 80 in total, and to work also on e-learning programs. Next slide, please. We started with the whole initiative in 2016 with so-called Train to nZEB project, where we introduced and established a training center for nZEBs. Next slide, please. Then we continued with the training courses for engineer, for architects, and also for craftsmen. This was further developed within the CrafEdu project. Next slide, please. In 2020, we experienced a small shock for us, because we planned to start with in-class courses, pilot courses, on-site courses, exhibitions, trade fair, and to further develop database of trainers and trainees, and to work on e-learning. This e-learning component was extremely expanded within the last year. Next slide, please. The result was to prepare videos in 2 languages, films, teacher's book as a e-content, and in total we have 7 days covered by the recorded webinars in 2 languages. We have more than 20 e-learning courses right now. Our colleagues in Bulgaria are working hard and introducing new e-learnings, I would say, every week. And we have 9 e-learning modules for each of selected professions. Next slide, please. Talking about results, we are in the final stage to introduce the pilot courses. We planned 880 participants of our courses. In total, we have reached 412 as of today, and we expect even more to be involved. Next slide, please. And talking about our future plans, there are a lot of challenges in front of us. If we want to double pace of renovations, I mean the renovation rate, we should really involve youth generation to the construction market, to increase attractiveness of the market, and to increase productivity of the work through, for example, building information modeling on site and virtual reality involvement in education. Further, we are going to work on new policies. Definitely, we will work on further development of our e-learning, which is currently available in 4 languages. So thank you for your attention, and if there are any questions, I will be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, Iri. Very nice presentation. And next, I give the floor to Jose from BIMZEED project. Can you hear me, Jose? Let me get back to the platform. I may propose that the speakers that have already presented, such as Yuan, Sonia, Yiri, you can also leave the platform and listen as a listener, because that might be our problem at the moment. This has never happened before during other workshops, but what we are facing is that there are speakers in this platform, but they're not able to talk to us.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. And for the speakers, I will bring you back during the Q&A session. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you everyone, and thank you, Moi, for the invitation. I'm Jose Lucas. I'm going to be presenting the BIMZEED project. Next slide, please. The main objective of the BIMZEED project is to upskill trainers and professionals to be able to design and realize what they need to do an nZEB building with BIM tools. So basically, what the main objective of this project is just to find out through some market studies and some other learning provision, see what's missing, see what are the gaps for the abilities and skills needed for all workers involved in the process for to make an nZEB building with BIM. So this project started in 2019. It's gonna end very soon in May 22. So in this project, we are 9 different partners. 2 of them are energy agencies. 4 of them are higher institutions, higher education institutions, 2 research centers, and the Council of Architects in Europe. So different countries, different procurements, different legislations to be applied in the BIM and nZEB. So next slide. So the main targets for this project were to develop at least 12 learning units that could fill those gaps already existing in the actual provision of BIM and energy efficiency with the goal of nZEB. So what we did was just do a market study, seeing which are the abilities and the learning outcomes that are already in the market, and try to aim for those learning outcomes that were needed to enhance these activities all around Europe. The target groups aim to upskill are obviously, first of all, trainers, and then small, medium enterprises, some vocational school trainers, and higher education institutions. So we designed these learning units to be transferable to their programs, so they could be easily adjusted to their needs. And in the piloting phase, We are aiming for 120 educators in 4 countries, in Spain, Ireland, Croatia, and Hungary, and from 400 to 500 different students that could be construction students, site managers, architects, any agent or any professional needed in that process. Next slide. So being almost at the end of the project, we already developed those 12 learning units. These 12 learning units are aimed for different target groups. So not all the learning units are aimed for architects, or not all learning units are aimed for blue-collar workers. But in the website of the project, you can see which learning units are recommended to each target group. So from the beginning to the end, we have some collaborative BIM to achieve nZEB, some BIM and nZEB for workers, just the basics, the basic knowledge to understand why do we need nZEB, what are the criteria, what are the aspects that you have to check in, what are the things that you have to account for, and then 2 learning units that are based on the realization and commissioning of the building, one addressed for envelopes and air tightness, and the other for systems, building services, and smart technologies. Then we have a quality assurance learning unit, 2 learning units based on the BIM model uses that you could exploit your model with, like clash detections and some quantifications and qualifications of the for budgeting or for planning of the construction site. Also, how to standardize a BIM model to make easy an nZEB design, or try to make it as easier as possible. And then the BEM, the building energy modeling, design and export for the energy simulation with BIM tools. That it's the next learning unit. It's both of them are in these programs. And then last but not least, the 2 last ones are regarding the facility management of the buildings. These were 2 learning units that we thought that were interesting, and then with the feedback that we have been receiving lately with different meetings, national industry groups, and different students, they find them really interesting. So right now the current status is that these 12 learning units are developed, and they have their descriptors in the website of the project, and they are already all up in the learning platform. And then right now we've trained 127, well, at least we have in the database 127 trainers from the 120 that we had to achieve. So very happy with that. And then we have 104 students for only 5 pilotings that we've done, that we are currently still doing. So next slide. So the future plans is during this year, do the piloting courses that we are doing in the 4 countries that I mentioned before: Spain, Ireland, Croatia, and Hungary. But it's not just based on that country, it's also based on the language. So some of the learning units are already translated to the languages of each country, and we are doing the pilotings in those languages. And then next year, the beginning of next year, until the end of the project, we're going to gather all the information, all the feedback, and amend all those things that we think could be improved in the learning units, and do final pilotings if needed, or if the public really wants them to be more. So it's just a finalizing stage on the project. So right now we are focused on the pilotings. If you want to know more information about the following trainings that we're doing, or you would be interested in enrolling in those trainings, in the website of BIMZEED, you can see every time that we open public training, you will see it there with an Eventbrite, so you could connect there, and we and it's all online training and blended training. So Yeah, gladly to answer your questions later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jose. We move to the next presentation from Arise project. Paul, the floor is yours, Paul.
Mohi, many thanks. Hopefully you're able to hear me and
Yes.
see me. That's it now. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and many thanks to the Sustainable Places team for the invite to present here today. The Arise project looks to address a system across Europe that isn't working. If we look at today, construction, digital is the new normal, but it's not making its impact and not making the impact that it should have. The construction industry continues to struggle in embracing modernization, especially in adaptation of technology. It needs to adapt the technology to become more green focused and deliver those solutions and the digitalization in its pathway, but it struggles in that path. This struggle has created a void, and that void is magnified across Europe in the different applications of the different green tools in construction. And one of the challenges we all face, especially during the build-up skills and all of the other projects, is how do we create a level playing field so we can have green, sustainable construction across Europe? And that, as we said, is the challenge. Across Europe, we're at the critical stage in the construction sector. Historically, regardless of which country it is, the construction sector is always fixated on cost, with the lowest cost rather than creating value. And this approach has been further magnified when we now work with the sector, looking to get them to address sustainable construction, green CO2 credentials, and reduce that carbon footprint. Arise is looking to inspire that demand among the workforce. The old saying in English is, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. Well, it is. Because as Amadine said at the start, build-up has been going now for years and making impact, but that impact has not magnified to the direction it should. So I go back to the previous one, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so it hasn't moved ahead. So we need to get a new approach where we put the learner in charge. Arise will revolutionize the learning process by giving the learner choice. That choice will either be through recognition or accreditation. We will go down the certification route or the CPD route, depending on what the worker needs for their job. Those modules, those micro modules, micro accreditations, and the digital learning account, the ILA, will allow the learner to take the pathway they need to be jobs focused rather than just education focused. By using gamification in the platform, we allow the learner to become further engaged and stimulated. We talk about a rhythm in life. We're working with people who are professionals who are currently working and trying to balance family life and load on top of that and learning for green skills. How do we get that learning commensurate with their rhythm in life? Allow them to learn in a process, in a time, and a fashion that suits them. Put the learner in charge. Let them, through gamification, accrue the points, transfer those points to the new cryptocurrency we're developing called CertCoin, and then to purchase the certificates or the CPD points they need to build up their individual learning account. Next slide, please, Moy. That's where put the learner in charge, get in the destination they require. As we said, we're working with build up from 2011 to 2019, 2020. We now need to translate all of the learnings from those different projects, including today's, through a 4-step process. Harmonize the activities. We have built and are developing the BIM EPA, the BIM Energy Performance Alliance across Europe. We're going to define on-demand mobile-friendly accounts where people can access the training in a time and a place through their mobile phone or through their laptop, short learning transactions where they build up the skills and the points they can transfer. We'll then develop and deploy a digital delivery system for CPD type methodology. And the step 4 is that cryptocurrency. How do we translate the skills through gamification to give people the tools they require? Using blockchain as the back-end ledger system, we will monetize the skills exchange. Rather than the traditional classroom approach, where the classroom materials were modernized to suit the remote industry. You'll have seen that during COVID. Now look at dedicated resources which will be industry focused and digitally focused. Rather than trying to retrofit the skills, let's design new skills and learning activities to meet that demand and deliver the upskilling that's required. To stimulate the industry, and to engage with them to deliver the skills that industry requires for zero CO2 construction. Next slide, please, Moy. The current status is we've just kicked off with our kickoff project, and the key speaker on that day was Amandine. We now move through to December 23. Through our digitalization compass, we align all of our training with industry, public authorities, and private sector to make sure we stay online with what industry requires and at a time what industry requires. Through our BIM Energy Performance Alliance, 45 members across 20 different European countries, we want to be able to deliver the tools, but also get feedback as the tools are being delivered, to make sure the tools and the learning stay current, and that digitalization process is standardized across all of Europe to overcome that void that we talked about, to increase vocational mobility, to allow the skilled workers to be able to move across different industries and different sectors to deploy their green skills that they need, to deliver a beyond blended, non-linear approach. The tools in the delivery will be job-focused, not person-focused, to give them the skills they need in time to do that, and to develop those individual learning accounts through micro-accreditation and allowing the learner to be in charge of their own destiny. Next slide, please. So currently we're at the RISE kick-off. Our next stage is to broaden, increase, and to deepen BIM EPA. BIMZEED, NetUBIP, and other BIM projects have come together with BIMCert to create this and enlarge this across all of Europe. How do we create that level playing field? Is build the harmony between all of the partners. So we get to that national maturity levels across all of the different European countries, regardless of their national qualifications. Let's build that in harmony with them, so that the skills and the recognition in France, Germany, Macedonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Ireland can be transferred, so it allows that transfer of skills, but also allows that green construction to be truly international. So rather than industry focused on lower cost, let's give them quality. And that quality is through the stimulation of skills, and then to create an EU-wide centre of excellence in digital construction. We've already started out with applications here in Ireland, North and South, across the 2 jurisdictions. Is to build that digital twin for the skills exchange. Amplify that across Ireland, and then with our partners across Europe, how do we get to that national maturity index on an EU-wide scale? Working with the build-up team and working with all the other EU projects that are there, how do we come together to build that cohesive partnership that takes all of the tools developed to date that the other partners have talked about earlier, other partners we're talking about again later on? How do we build that level platform? How do we allow the construction worker in Macedonia to have the same level of skills opportunity as the construction worker in England, Germany, and France? So not only do we create a level playing field, we create a level construction sector, so that zero CO2 in any language is transferable. So we create the ultimate goal that we need is how do we decarbonize the construction sector? Second only in CO2 and greenhouse gas emissions to industry. How do we green that? And that's the challenge we all face. And it won't be achieved through product, it'll be achieved through people. So we've got to give the people maturity index and the maturity pathway they need and the stimulation. Thank you very much, Moy.
Thank you very much, Paul, for your presentation. Very interesting. Let's move to the next presentation. But before that, I'll come back to the platform to see if I can see our colleagues who had problem. Okay, I can see Marion and Patrick. Okay. After Leonida, we move to the presentations from BUSLeague and HP for All. And sorry for the inconvenience. The floor is yours, Leonida. SEEtheSkills project.
Thank you, Mohi. Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Leonida Stoyanovska-Georgievska from the University St. Cyril and Methodius in North Macedonia. I'm here representing the project SEEtheSkills, and we are newcomers in this group. So I hereby want to sincerely thank to the organizers for the invitation to join the group in this workshop. Our project is new one, and it is funded in the second round of Construction Skills Call. The whole title is Sustainable Energy Skills in Construction, Visible, Validated, and Valuable. It has started from June this year, and it will last for 3 years. As the most of the project projects in our call, we are targeting to challenge market acceptance of the energy skills by implementing a triple V approach, which gathers together the three actions termed like V actions: visibility, actions toward visibility of skills, then their validation in order to increase the value of skills and their market demand. Project consortium spreads across a wide geographical region consisting of 10 partners from 5 countries. We have partners from Spain, then the Netherlands, Slovenia, Slovakia, and North Macedonia. Next slide, please, Mohi. Our idea and the concept, the approach of the project can be visually explained very well with this graphical representation. As our project is based on the good foundations of the results from the previous projects in BUS initiative. So the actions and the planned results from the projects are planned to be built up upon the good foundations from these previous projects. The actions are all concentrated around these 3 topics: visibility, validation, and value. In order to reach visibility of skills and visibility of professionals that are skilled, the plan is to create inter-regional repository, which will be cloud-based, and it will consist of 4 different databases. The first one database considering training opportunities, training catalog based on the BUS Advisor app, which will be upgraded and filled in with training offers from all project countries, also from previous projects, and also from the training opportunities that will be developed within SEEtheSkills. Another database is the database of skilled professionals, professional register, for which we will upgrade the existing registers from the previous projects, like trainee project from North Macedonia, which has developed such a professional register, and also Newcom. Then the things that in the register that will be somehow new to be integrated into the repository are energy efficient companies register, which will be linked with the professional register. This will be the companies that employ skilled professionals, but also companies that produce energy efficient materials. And the 4th one is materials catalog, which will incorporate materials and their attributes related with energy efficiency. Of course, the training catalog will be connected with e-learning platform, which will offer various training opportunities through this platform. The second action, validation, will target to organize and to offer different tools embedded into the interregional repository of skills, which tools will enable validation of skills in order to enable also mutual recognition. The minimum requirements for leveling the skills across the project partner countries and also beyond will be defined. The tools that will be developed here are mainly targeting the process of recognition of prior learning, for which there is a strong background in the previous projects that had run in the call of BUS initiative. These are the projects, trainee project, and also the national project from BET from North Macedonia. This tool for recognition and methodology for recognition of previous learning will be upgraded and replicated through the whole SEEtheSkills area. And the new thing that will be added within this project is the creation of e-RPL tool to enable to enable also self-evaluation of skills for the professionals, for which also mobile application will be created. Another tools that will be linked to the repository are tools to enable micro-learning and gamification elements, and also self-inspections of professionals. The third pillar, or the third action that will define the project concept is the actions toward the increasing the value of skills. These are the actions that are targeting the demand side. Several tools will be developed. One of them is the tool for post-occupancy evaluation, targeting homeowners and tenants to make the initial evaluation of the energy efficiency and energy performance of their objects, in order to receive proposal for renovation or for implementation of measures toward energy efficiency. Another tools also implemented here are BIM tools, in order to present and to offer a ways for a gap reduction, etc. Next slide, Mohi. Thank you.
Sorry, Leonida, time is up. If you can wrap it up in 1 or 2 minutes,
rapidly. This was the main slide with most talking on it. Because we are at the very beginning of the project, here only planned targets are marked. In terms of target groups, the first target group are the individuals, consisting of building professionals, blue-collar workers, and homeowners, which will be involved in some of the actions of the project. Then the professional groups and association companies and market actors. Next. Our current status, because we are in the first months of the project implementation. Kickoff meeting was organized on the 1st of September. Procedural documents and the project organization established, and we are starting with the work on the first package of the project, initiating right now. And our future plans on the last slide are presenting how are we planning to go further with implementation of the project. In the current year, we will define the code of collaboration between the project partners. For next year, plan is to establish the integrated repository of skills with these 4 sub-databases that are explained earlier. In the year 2023, the main actions toward validation of skills are planned: replication of the process of RPL and the related tools, then development of e-learning platform, where the training modules for renewable energy sources, for BIM and cross-craft skills are planned to be developed, and also tools toward workers. And in the last year of implementation of the project, we will implement the tools aiming to target the demand side, the owners, where the final result that is expected is to see this increased value of skills and increased demand from the demand side. Thank you for the attention.
Thank you very much, Nida. It's very nice to get to know about the newer projects. Now I will try to go back to the presentation from BUSLeague. If Marion, you can connect.
Yeah, hi.
Okay, great. Sorry about before, the problem, the technical issue. Thankfully it is solved. And okay, the floor is yours, Marion.
It's perfect. Thank you so much, Moi. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Marion Jamet, and I'm here to talk about the BUSLeague project. Next, please. So BUSLeague is an Horizon 2020 project. We, the Irish Green Building Council, are working on it with 12 partners in 7 countries. And really the main objective of BUSLeague is to stimulate demand for sustainable energy skills in the construction sector with a specific focus on construction workers. So it's about skills for nZEB. Oh, can you go back? Thank you. For nZEB and for renovation projects, so new build and renovation. Sorry. And what we are doing with BUSLeague is taking what we call a push and pull approach. So by that, I mean we are working on both the supply and the demand side. So on the supply side, we are working on practical and effective upskilling. So we are, depending on the countries, we are working on several upskilling tasks, including some work with DIY and hardware stores with that regard, but we are also working on stimulating demand for upskilling. And the rationale for that is that what we have found is that over the last 5 years, there's been a growing number of training courses focusing on nZEB and energy efficiency that have been developed for construction workers, but the challenge is that still many construction workers do not register or do not complete these specific courses. So what we are trying to do is to incentivize them to upskill. So part of that is obviously to make it easier to upskill with on-site training course, etc. But other things we are looking at is recognition of skills, is how to use financial instruments such as grants to incentivize upskilling, and also how to use really public procurement to incentivize upskilling. And that's really that part of the project I would like to focus on today. Next, please. So why, as part of the BUSLeague project, are we focusing on public procurement and using public procurement to incentivize construction workers' upskilling? Well, the rationale for that is that public procurement constitutes approximately 14% of the EU GDP. So consequently, it really has the potential to influence the market. So what we are trying to do really is by introducing additional requirements in relation to skills as part of public procurement is to incentivize upskilling. So we are looking at 2 ways of doing that, again, depending on the countries where we are working on that. So one option is to use what is called energy efficiency training class. It's currently in use in northern France, and it's basically the idea is that companies that when you bid for a specific project, you need to commit that if you are successful, all the construction workers working on that specific project will have to complete a short training course on energy efficiency. And the other option that we are looking at, and I know our partners in Spain are testing, is more a competency-based clause, whereby really specific training or education may be requested as part of the tender process. So that can be as an award or as a selection criteria. So that's really what we are trying to do as part of BUSLeague. Sorry, next slide, please. So what we have done to date, so the project is quite new. We started about a year ago. So far what we have been doing is really to analyze the barriers to the use of this clause in the various markets, so in the 6 countries involved. We have done that through desk research, but also through stakeholder engagement with workshop and one-to-one conversation with both public bodies, but also the construction industry. And now we are really in the second part, I suppose, of that task, which is very much about preparing the pilot in the 6 countries. Next, please. Yeah, so sorry, it's a bit small, but so what we are as I said, so what we have done at the moment is really to analyze the barriers to the use of this training class in the 6 countries, but we are now preparing the pilot, and to prepare the pilot, there are 2 things we are focusing on. One of them is obviously to look at training requirements that we want to include as part of this class, very much focusing on the learning outcomes. And we are also obviously looking at it from a legal point of view to make sure we have a robust clause for the pilot phase. We are talking with public bodies in these 6 countries with the idea to start piloting a version of the training clause, which may be slightly different depending on the context in each country from the end of this year. And based on that pilot, we will develop a best practice guide towards the end of the project, so that actually other public bodies can replicate or can learn from what has been done in these 6 countries. And also if it's working well, because we think there is a potential to really use it, to better use green public procurement to incentivize upskilling. So if it's working well, we will try to secure a commitment from both actually public bodies, but also from private organizations to keep using the clause after the end of the project in early 2023. That's it for me. Sorry if I was a bit long.
Thank you very much, Marion. Next is the last presentation from HP for All. Patrick, if you can hear me.
I can hear you. Can you see me or hear me? Yeah.
Let me take a look. I cannot see you yet, but I can hear you.
I don't know if the camera is turned on, all right. It was working a minute ago. I'm sorry about this.
Okay, any other speaker can see Patrick, or is it just my problem?
I can't see myself either, unfortunately. Well, maybe fortunately. Do you want to just put up the slides maybe? And
okay, so we just go forward. Here is your slide. Okay, the floor is yours, Patrick.
Okay, thanks, Mohi, and thanks to the organisers for the opportunity to speak to you today about our project Heat Pumps for All. It's a Horizon 2020 project. It's running just a little over a year now, out of a 30-month duration. And I suppose the main aim for this is in the context of more and more importance being placed on heat pumps as a proven technology to help reduce the carbon emissions associated with heating and cooling as well. There comes with that a very serious requirement to ensure that the installations are carried out to a very high standard, because they are more sensitive to design and installation issues, which can ultimately lead to poor efficiency. So in a context where there's lots and lots of heat pumps being installed to reduce carbon emissions, if they're not if the installations are not carried out properly and handed over properly, those CO2 savings won't be realized. So it's very important issue. So we have 7 partners involved in the project, over 6 countries, ranging from research organizations to third-level educational and energy agencies as well. So a great spread of very strong partners there. So next slide, please, Mohi. So how are we setting about this? We're on the one hand looking to develop and enhance the skills that are at play across the supply chain. So that's looking at people who are designing and installing systems, going back through the supply chain into manufacturers and distributors to increase the training and education and the knowledge of all of those people. Looking at the training providers in the countries, we have 3 pilot regions in Upper Austria, Andalusia in Spain, and in Ireland. So in those 3 pilot regions, we would be looking at the current offering in training and seeing can we in any way help coordinate that or to promote what's there, maybe help to fill any gaps that exist. And also with a view to looking at what are the national policies of those regions. And on the other hand, it's like Marion mentioned earlier, it's a kind of a push-pull idea that we then look to the end users of heat pumps, whether they're building owners or occupants of buildings where heat pumps are installed, and helping to increase the recognition of the skills so that the end users place value in these skills and that they actively look for people who have these skills, so that in doing so we can seek to improve the efficiency of the end result, the installations, the systems that are going to be in for 15 or 20 years. So as I say, we'll be looking at the training frameworks in the different regions and trying to maybe help bring from the ground up, let's say, take the policy measures that are in place in the different countries and try and accelerate maybe the uptake of training and coordinate that back to the policy. So next slide, please, Mohi. Our targets are, I suppose the first two targets are really down to trying to influence the performance of systems. So if we take the seasonal performance factor, which is a measure of the efficiency of a system, the efficiency of heat pumps in converting electrical energy into thermal energy, we want to try and say that we can have a positive impact on a sufficient number of installations that we ultimately save 2 gigawatt-hours per year in primary energy with a resulting reduction of 628 tons of CO2. Across the pilot regions, we're aiming to train 400 people. And we're also developing then to support the end users, we're developing a benchmarking tool which will be specific to each pilot region. So there will be a total of 3 of those benchmarking tools. So next slide, please. Just talking a minute about the 3 pilots. The current status is that we're in the process of developing regional pilot plans and action plans, which are going to take us through the next 12 months. And they're different in each pilot region, so we will learn from each other, and we're targeting specific issues in each region. So in Andalusia, there's already lots of air conditioners, which are heat pumps, but there's a lot of, they've been in for a long time. So we're looking at upgrading existing equipment with more efficient equipment, training the installers on how to use that equipment, trying to create more of an awareness that it's good to replace before it breaks down, and to consider maybe looking at the building envelope and other aspects of the system. It's going to be done in the main through public authorities, looking at both residential and non-residential systems. In Upper Austria, where there's already a very well-established renewable heat market for heat pumps and also for biomass, the focus for this project will be looking at large-scale heat pumps and how to develop those types of projects and to help with feasibility and case studies and to promote the projects. In Ireland, we have a kind of a really ambitious targets for between now and 2030 to add 600,000 new heat pumps to the stock of heat pumps that are there. We have very severe skills shortages across the installation and design side, so that's a big issue. And we're looking at how to develop training for existing installers and also to encourage new people to come from perhaps oil and gas boiler sectors into the heat pump sector. Next slide, please. So the final slide, and just to look ahead, as I say, we've been up and running for 12 months. We've carried out a lot of work in surveying end users, their attitudes to heat pumps, and their aspirations and their hopes and the issues that they have found and barriers. Similarly for training, we've looked at the training requirements, the training offerings that are there. So now we're moving into, for this year, for the rest of this year and into next year, we're finalizing our pilot activities. We'll be rolling out those pilot plans. This will be really coming down to quantifying the amount of installations that we can have an impact on, and that's how we will measure the impacts that we have in terms of energy savings and CO2 savings. And the project will run through 2022 and come to an end in February 2023. So our evaluation and impacting and reporting will be complete at that stage. So thanks for the opportunity, and be happy to take any questions later on.
Thank you very much, Patrick. So this was our fun. Oh wow, there is a beautiful echo. I come back to the platform to take a look at our chat box to see if there is any question. Again, to our audiences, if you have any question, please drop it in the chat box or also the Q&A box, as you wish. I'm taking a look. So far, there is no question. But then this is not the end. You can still drop your questions. And also, if you have, after this workshop, if you have any other questions or you want to get a follow-up on our discussion, you can drop your question at this address, Sustainable Places @R2M Solution. So the discussion will still go on. I see Amandan is in the platform. I propose that we go through the conclusion, Amandan, if you agree.
Yes, thank you, Mohi. I think it's been really a very interesting session, and it's impressive to see what all these projects have been doing so far. And we also know that there are lots of interactions between them, that they really try to work in synergy. And this is really something we'll try to promote even further at CINEA, and hopefully we can probably organize a meeting before the end of the year. So this is not the end of the discussion, definitely. So as a conclusion, I just wanted to highlight the next funding opportunities and the live clean energy transition call of this year, because I believe this would be quite relevant for you. So we have 5 intervention areas that are open and which you can see on these slides. One is on the developing the right policy framework for the clean energy transition. One is on the technology rollout of new services and business models. We also have topics around attractive private financing, and equally supporting the development of local and regional projects. And last but not least, also 3 topics around empowering citizens. So if you would like to find more information on these topics that are open, you can consult the links that are mentioned on this slide. There are also detailed frequently asked questions and presentation that we provide for you as background. This call is open until the 12th of January. And there's an overall budget available of 94.5 million euro. So if we go to the next slide, I just picked one topic that I think will be really relevant for you based on what we just discussed. So we have a topic open that will fund an update of the national platforms and roadmaps that we developed 10 years ago. So this is really, really important. So we really look forward to have good, robust applications. So please have a look at the topic text, which is also available on the Funding and Tenders portal. And if you're not planning to apply yourself, you can also please promote it to your national stakeholders, because we really believe now is the time to do this updating exercise. And I must also add that it's a topic that will fund rather smaller projects, but on the other hand, applications by single entities are allowed. So I think it can also be very interesting to know. And we really look at a national approach, so more national projects. And maybe to conclude, moving on to the next slide, I also wanted to remind you that in a few weeks' time, we'll have our European Sustainable Energy Week, and this year under the theme Toward 2030, Reshaping the European Energy System. And as last year, it's taking place fully online, and there are lots of I think, really interesting sessions. So don't miss it. And with this, I would stop and would thank you again for the, I think, very interesting presentation and this opportunity also to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amandine. and also for introducing us to this cause and letting us know, reminding us of the Sustainable Energy Week. I personally will make sure to disseminate it among colleagues. Let's take a look again on the chat if you have any questions. I cannot see any. If the speakers have any questions for other speakers about their projects, please let us know, because I talked to my colleagues. They mentioned that we can go on maybe a couple of minutes more. But then, meanwhile, let me drop this in the chat that the recordings and the presentations of this workshop and other workshops will be posted a few days after the Sustainable Places is concluded on our website. And for any future discussions, please feel free to for the speakers to email me and my colleagues, and also to for the audiences to send an email to sustainableplaces@ourtimesolution.com. I take a final look if there's no questions. Okay, there is none. Thank you very much to our audiences. Thank you very much to our speakers, to our EC representative. I hope you have a good rest of the evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.